Hey there YouTube, petey twofinger here. This is my guitar maintenance video. Not necessarily going to be for when the instrument is brand new. This is more like if you've had the instrument for a few years and you're going to do a string change and you notice that it's really dusty and the pots crackle. You'll notice that if you have your high gain setting, your like mega rock sound with either the amplifier's gain turned up or a distortion pedal engaged, when you turn the volume all the way down and then come out of zero, let's say between 0 and 3, if it was set on a 0 to 12 scale, it will crackle. And so this is going to address a way we can eliminate that crackle, and with stuff like with the 3 or 5-way toggle not quite making contact in some spots, like especially with most guitars, you'll find that in the neck. Well, it depends on who's playing the guitar. If the person purchases the guitar, sets the pickup selector to the bridge position, and never moves it, there's a good chance that when someone else buys that guitar and they go to use that the neck one won't work unless you kind of jiggle it. So we're going to address the things that I've learned to do to make my life easier. And I'm going to show you, it's basically going to be a list of tools because the idea of pull it through here and then come up and kind of one of these all the way up it's going to make for boring and too much detail. So I'm just going to start with the tools that I really love to use for removing any type of screws, a small, especially if it's a lithium ion, with a smaller bit, not the number 2 Phillips, and then you're going to need 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench is the size Allen wrench that typically goes on a set screw for the pot. And then the fastener for that pot is a 10 millimeter. If you have, and this is a deep well 10 millimeter, so this is a wonderful tool because if you're gonna, if you don't have one, yes, of course, a little monkey wrench will work, but I have cracked pots and switches by using this because you just get too much more leverage than you need, and this is my rule of thumb. Using this by hand will let me get the right amount of torque on it. So this is a 10 millimeter, and then it's a 6 millimeter deep well for the little toggle switch. If you have any of those little toggle switches, that's the size that works for me. So we went over some of those tools. Also, these type of mechanic screwdrivers are nice to have. This one has a Phillips on one end and a regular on the other. And like taking a piece of paper towel and then spraying, this is just, and pushing that piece of paper towel underneath the strings to, if you're, let's say you're not going to change the strings today, pushing that piece through, this is the tool that I use to remove all the dust that forms around the pickup card. A toothbrush, what I do is I cut them off and then run some type of this is a piece of cord, so then they hang. I like to have nails to hang all my tools. So yeah, something like this brush is going to be used to remove debris, and then when we do remove the knobs off of the unit, there's going to be debris underneath. So basically we're going, every fastener that we remove, I like to clean underneath that and get whatever matter or discoloration is off of there. And this is the tool that I use to do that. Through the process, I use rubbing alcohol. This is 90%. We don't want to get the 75. And this comes into play later for cleaning the pots. As far as my fretboard goes, this is a huge debate. I'm not here to discuss. If you hate lemon oil, then let me know what you use to season your fretboard, which is probably nothing, because there's 2 schools. One is used stuff, and lemon oil is at the top of that list. This was purchased at Walmart. I think it was around $2 or $3 for this bottle, which I've had for since probably around the year Y2K. I probably got this, and as you can see, I still have quite a bit of it left. A little goes a long way, and that's what I use on my fretboard to keep it looking the way you're seeing that now. Some people love this. This is silicone. one method that I do is when I'm going to use finger ease, I would think this is more for the strings. So I use a piece of paper and I put that paper, I use 2 of them, and I will install these, for lack of a better word, here. And then as I spray, I have a rag ready, and the rags that I like to use are absorbent. This is a bed sheet material that has been cut up into a bunch of pieces. Pink, not my favorite color. So the finger ease, these are elixirs, and I put some on there. This guitar hadn't been played for a while, and I played it last night, and it just felt awful to me. And I thought the elixirs were supposed to be wonderful, but it turns out I didn't. I don't know. I don't know if I like them. I mean, this guitar has a Floyd on it, and so the Diodario 10s, you know, that's everyone's favorite. If you know about strings, you'll know that they do hold their tone longer than any other normal string. So the price difference, that's the thing, you know. And I guess ultimately the thing is, if you don't like them when you're playing them, then it doesn't matter how much they cost. So I may be going back to the Diodario 10s. Now, I found this finger ease at a resale store for 99 cents. Still a good amount in it, and I'm on the shelf on this stuff. I used it today. I put it on my Court 45 travel guitar. I put it on here, and I put it, let's see, back to the tools. This is graphite, and you can get this in bulk on eBay. If you look powder graphite, if you order direct from China, it's very affordable. And how that works is when I'm putting the strings on, at the contact point of each string on the saddle, I will put that on there and I will rub it on the string. And then when I'm done, you know, less is more with this stuff because you don't want it all over the guitar. When I'm done, I will use that toothbrush and I will blow as I'm getting it out of there and try to get it off the guitar. And it helps if you've just waxed the guitar or polished it, so when that stuff falls on there, it'll come right off the graphite. So that's going to be one of the things that you want to think about doing after the guitar has been polished. You know, polish it first when you're remove the strings, polish the guitar, remove the strings, season the fretboard, polish the guitar, re-season the fretboard because that oil, when you rub it in, it'll kind of come back out, and then rub it in again, the lemon oil. And then when you go to apply the strings, put this on, you'll already have the guitar waxed. So if any, and there will be a good amount of graphite that land on the guitar body. Or, you know what, if you got a vacuum handy, that would be another great idea. It would be just use the vacuum tube and vacuum that up. I'm never one against utilizing an extra step like that, especially since I've hurt my back. My wife is often accompanying me, so I'm lucky enough to have an assistant where I can say, hey, would you mind getting the vacuum? And then, you know, it seems like, oh, it's such a big deal. Well, then you don't got to worry about it. And I'm really lucky that I have somebody. So Q-tips is the way that I like with the strings on today. I took this and poured about 10 drops of this into the cap, and then I used a Q-tip and would soak that up and spread the strings and apply it in there. I'm looking at what other tools have I missed. For string changes, I've got a whole lot of stuff in here. This is a cheater gauge. It's got all sorts of useful measurements and tips for setting string height. Another tube of graphite lube. And then this is I don't know, is it a 3mm? But this is a rounded, it's got like a hex end. And these really work really well for coming in on a Fuji, a Floyd Rose, and then there's one over here to get a little bit more leverage too for up here. So, and that's again, I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but I put graphite up here too. Even though it's a locking mechanism, I still put it up there. It probably may help aid in not breaking, no breakage. So yeah, this is a good tool. I got this for $1 on eBay. I'm saving the string ends because in certain instances, like you'll end up with a set of strings with a goofy ball end, like Fender bullets, silver bullets. You can, and those are made for the string end is lead that's formed to fit the cavity of a Fender trim, the inside pocket, and that doesn't really sit right on Floyd's or any other type of guitar. So if you end up with some of those strings, you can slip this down the string, and then you end up with a standard type of a ball end that will sit better. So that's a goofy tip that I picked up. This is a fret polishing set that I got on eBay for 99 cents. It comes with 2 fret guards. These are little metal guys with slots come that cut, and you put that over the slot, over the fret, and then polish it up with this abrasive. It's like a rock. It's like a little brick that's abrasive that enables you to groom your frets, which in my case would be, I use steel wool rather than that brick, but you could very well, and files. But I've got that rock, I have yet to try that out. This is a tripod that we won at a string event at a very weird music store, Uncle John's. Yeah, they had, their family was there, and there was some older women and very young girls, and then a boy who looked like who threw a fit because he didn't want to have pizza for lunch. And they were employing the woman that did my daughter's guitar let a 6-year-old girl string the guitar and completely botched the string setup. And it took them 45 minutes. Seemed like if they knew you, like people that shop there got really good treatment. And I tried to strike up a conversation with the owner, and he contradicted me, told me I didn't know what I was talking about, and made me sit down. And as we waited for like 2 hours. And then when they pulled my name out of the hat, should have seen how upset they were. And I was there with my daughter. I didn't say anything. We sat down. We didn't do anything. We sat down with our arms folded and smiled and nodded the whole time. And then they were just, it was really weird. You can make your own out of a, everybody's got one of these things. They were popular in the 90s. It's a can koozie. And so you use whatever you can, scissors or a sharp hobby knife. And then the neck of the guitar fits in here. And this will give the neck, it's a stand. It's the neck stand. And then the peg winder, the most important tool. So yeah, the peg winder is a great tool. This is a new kind of peg winder. This is highly recommended. This is a very affordable unit off of eBay, China. You put this in here, and it's got a cross T-slot, different sizes. And then instead of doing this to undo your string, you do this. Same thing for putting them on. For putting them on, there's tension. So that's where that comes really in handy. And I bought that, and I haven't used it yet because I keep forgetting I have it because it sits at the bottom of this. So other than that, with the string changes, you need something to snip the ends of the strings, and then your technique depends on if you have locking tuners. Really, if you have locking tuner, you want to pull the string straight through, line up the eyelets of the locking tuner. You want to pull the string straight through. Line up the eyelets of the tuners so that they're facing the bridge, and then just run it straight through, crimp it down, and cut it off, and then go ahead and turn it from there. For how I learned how to do it is when you pull the string through, you'll go, like let's say I'm going to start here with the E. I'll pull that E string and I will cut it here. So you want to have the same length where you cut them when you pull them up. So you have just the right amount. And then what I'll do is I will hold it here and have someone else come and pull on the string, and I will put it through, bend it. I'll use my thumb to bend the string, or you could, if you have a needle nose. But then, yeah, you put that thing on there, you have someone else pulling on it, and you, or use your peg winder, and then that person who's holding it will slowly, and you just kind of make sure that you have maybe a finger here holding it down, so it angles, so it spins, it spindles up, it winds up nice, and doesn't overlap itself. So if you just pay attention and go slow as you string, you'll develop a technique. But like I said, I didn't want this to turn into a restring video, and it kind of has. For this guitar in particular, this is a active pickup, and it has a sustainer. That's what the switch. Inside of my strap here is a NIM nickel metal hydride 9.6 volt remote control car battery. This charges up to around 11.5 volts. Between 10.35 and like 11.65 is what it'll actually run at. And so yeah, I run strap locks. This is a comfort stretch strap, and it's got this matted thing because the actual material feels like it cuts into my neck. You know, it's just kind of sharpish. So my daughter got me this seat belt thing, and it probably should be replaced. It's kind of real matted. But yeah, that's extra comfort. And then basically how this works is I never run a 9-volt battery on my system. The sustainer kind of eats those up. So this battery pack, basically what I did, I put in drilled it out, put a 2.1 mil DC jack. So yeah, this plugs in here. There's a 90, and that goes up to my strap. The battery pack's in my strap, and I can play for 12, 18 hours without draining the battery. So there is a fuse in here. It's like a 1 amp fuse, maybe 750 mil. And then it runs up and solders into a 9-volt battery clip, which clips onto the factory battery clip. It really works well. I find that eventually this will crap out depending on, and this wire in here takes a lot of abuse, so I end up replacing that. It's good to have a backup, which I do. So that's another tip for powering active pickup guitars if you don't. Sustainer guitars. An active pickup guitar, the 9-volt lasts a long time, but a sustainer, it wears out in a half hour. So that's why I have this. I know you're going to, why don't you just get a 9-volt petey? My guitar's 18 volts. Yeah, I play Enter Sandman all day at Guitar Center. So yeah, this stuff here is deoxit. It's some kind of chemically improves metal-to-metal connections and contacts. D-series, flushing action. So this, basically, the electronic part of this, what I did today, I removed, everything came out of here. This is the circuit board with the one pot and the switch. You have to take that out, and then that whole board comes out. This pot came out, and pull it out, and then there's 2 screws for the toggle switch. So what I will do is grab a paper towel and put that underneath the device to catch the excess liquid. First off, I inspect the unit and see where there's cracks. In the case of the 5-way switch, cracks all over it. So I went in through the top and just had flushed it with rubbing alcohol, and then I manually clicked it, and then knocked it out. And then I gave it a spray of the good stuff, did the same thing, knocked it out, and then repeated with this. Now, this stuff here, you don't necessarily need it. I'm not sure about how this evaporates. I know how alcohol evaporates. It seems like this evaporates a little better, so that's why I don't know. This is kind of expensive, the deoxit, and it has the advantage that you could power blast it in there and clean stuff out. But really, you know, and guys will go, oh, you're going to kill all the lubricant in your pots. Well, if it's a 5-year-old guitar, they're not putting any kind of, you know, if it's some expensive CTS pot and a real expensive PRS or something, yeah, maybe there's something in there. But nowadays, let's be frank, if what's in there is crackling, you're not going to hurt it by running some alcohol through it. And if you're the type of guy who's going to freak out about running 91% alcohol through a pot, get the fuck off my channel. Seriously, dude. We're fixing stuff, hacking stuff. We're not afraid of 91% rubbing alcohol, in this channel. So, yeah. The pot has a push-pull switch on the top of it. There's a steel box, and there's a crack in the corner, so I ran that through there, and then click, 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 ran that pot. And then on the pot assembly at the top, at the 12 o'clock point, it's a circle, and it comes up, and there's a cutout where the sheet metal of the body is like they cut 2 slits in it around the corner and then stamped it in, and you can spray the liquid right in there. The nozzle of this fit right up in there, and I would pump the alcohol into it and spin it, and always having a paper towel underneath it to catch the excess, and spun that about 25 times, and then knocked it out, blew on it, and then went ahead with this. Did the same thing, spraying it in there. And then follow it up with another alcohol. And if you have compressed air handy, go ahead and try to blow all that out. Or you could use something like an embossing tool or a little hair dryer to gently heat it up and make sure that it's dry. In this case, I'm not going to play the guitar for 6 hours. Make sure that all that liquid dries up. So if you gently knock all that stuff out of there with the liquid, and then it'll evaporate, you'll find that your switches, if you had a problem with the switch, it wasn't making contact, it'll fix that. Also, the crackling will be gone. So you don't need to replace the pot. You just need to clean it. And then as far as storing the guitar goes, if you're not going to play it, you want to make sure that when you're done with your guitars, you roll the volume all the way down. That's what I do, because I don't want to have, if it is going to develop a crackle, I don't want it to develop that crackle at my wide open position. So if you leave, because when they sit there, it seems like wherever that thing is making contact, it makes a notch in there from like this. The metal creates sediment that attaches itself to the graphite layer, whatever that is, the conductive layer on the inside of the pot, and then that becomes the crackle area. So my tip is, if you're gonna put an amp away, dime everything down, zero everything out. Put everything, all the pots all the way down. Same thing with your instruments. Every time I'm done, I turn them both all the way down. And that way, if it does develop a crackle, it'll be between 0 and 3 rather than 9 and 12, or juiced all the way open. So if it does crackle, it's not going to affect the area of adjustment that I play in, if that makes any sense. So then for the finish, like I said, everyone has their own thing about the finishes, and I'm not talking about a 59 Les Paul with a nitrocellulose finish. I'm talking about modern instruments. I got this. It's McGuire's piano. This was at a Goodwill, and it's McGuire's. It's McGuire's for Fender, but people use automotive waxes and products on guitars all the time. But this has a often, rare, and never, or something. There are different types of. This is the clarifier. This is the finish reflections. That's rare. Often is like a real light spray. The rare is more like a wax that you put on and remove, buff it off of there. And the finish clarifier, I think you do that after. This stuff's made for a piano, but I found it works excellent on guitar. I picked this up at a Guitar Center, or what am I talking about? Guitar Center. Goodwill. It was $1.99. Came with the pad, and then I got a microfiber cloth. If you go to Dollar Tree, they have all types of different sizes of microfiber cloths, from small to bigger ones. You keep that large one on top of your instrument in the case, and then this one, smaller one, for waxing and cleaning, which I'm going to do today. So, I mean, before I got this, I was using just regular old Aldi brand furniture polish. And what I would do is spray the guitar and then wipe it off. I mean, it's kind of messy. To do that, you're going to want to really make sure you do that outdoors, especially not over tile floor. And I mean, you could always spray the rag and buff it in, and that works. You'll definitely, if the guitar needs to be cleaned, is it going to hurt it using furniture polish? Well, again, if you're that type of person that's going to argue with me and get all bent out of shape and tell me what kind of expensive stuff that you use, off my channel. Seriously, I have no time for that type of elite, I'm better than you attitude. This works. Nail clippers to cut the strings. Personally, I have a very specific needle nose pliers that I have a love affair with, and none of the other ones are any good. This is garbage compared to this. Can you see the difference? Can you see how different they are? But seriously, the knurls on it, this one's worn in, and it's a little bit smaller. It's just a tiny bit smaller. And this is garbage. Get that out of my face. Piece of garbage. And then these are really nice. You can get these for a couple bucks. They're like maybe $1.95 or maybe even 95 cents. The only thing is you might want to take a file and round that off. They're really sharp at the end, and you will cut yourself with these. These work really well for nippers. That's what Pig Photon calls them. They work good for home ingrown toenail and fingernail surgery, as well as wire cutters. But yeah, those are the types of tools that I really like to use. Favorite Phillips screwdriver is this long one that has a plastic end that you can spin, and that's kind of how I use it. But yeah, that you're going to want to have a favorite screwdriver. My favorite little regular is this one. I recently got this at a resale store, and like I said, I really recommend in your stores regularly. Type of stuff, being frugal, but awesome. Cheap doesn't have to mean junky, And if we take care of our gear, I mean, it's not like it was in the 60s and 70s where the cheap guitars were junk, where they weren't intonated right, and the pickups made noise. The Squier stuff is probably better than the Strats that Hendrix started playing on. And I would seriously bet money on that. So we're blessed to be in the place we are, and with that blessing comes a little bit of responsibility, making sure that you take pride in your instrument, take care of your instrument, and don't be afraid to maintain it. Everything that I'm doing here today is non-destructive, and it certainly is better to have a clean instrument than to have something, because when you take that time and invest in it, you kind of bond with the instrument and you have a good respect for it, and then you feel really good about playing it. And having a clean guitar that's freshly been cleaned and waxed just plays better, especially if you don't have any of the, especially if you're young and you're doing this in front of people. That's when it's really important to have your shit together. Mind your P's and Q's. You don't want to have, kicking pedals and having intermittent, crackling on the volume knobs. That type of stuff, that's what makes that's what separates the people that are successful from the people that get the cane to come out, the Sandman pulling you off the stage. So yeah, like I said, again, if you have any of your own tips, I'd love to hear them. Chemical stuff, tool stuff, techniques, tips and tricks to keep your guitar running and its optimal performance, please let me know. And thank you very much for supporting my channel. Today I'm gonna, later on, I think we're making music, my wife and I. Like I said, I've been playing this travel guitar, the Steinberger headless guitar that I got, And the strings, initially, it came with supposedly Steinberger strings on it, but those got kind of old, and I ordered a replacement set of the Steinbergers, and they were like $8. See, it's a double ball end string. There's a ball at the other end. Ball on both, double ball end. And I had ordered a replacement bridge that enabled you to use a regular end. And I had gotten two of those. The first one was broken. It was bent, and when I bent it back, it cracked. It's cheap pot metal. The second one came, and the screw holes were way off. And then they fought me on the return, and so yeah, that was a huge time-consuming thing. Then I found a cheap set of strings. I bought two of those cheap sets of strings. They didn't fit. So finally, I ordered a set of the Steinberger brand strings, and they're horrible. They hurt my fingers so bad. I don't understand how a manufacturer like Steinberger, like they make like precise, you think it's German, so they're going to have their P's and Q's, they're going to make together, but the strings are just awful. So I need to get some Diodarios, and I thought, you know what? Why am I going to play it? Instead, I'm gonna play this, which has the elixirs on it, and then Christmas is going to come, so eventually I'm going to be able to get some Diodario double ball and 10s and put those on there. I don't know, but this video is way too long. Thank you for joining me, guys. I will see you guys around, and